Okay, so the rule is you can't offend anyone, all right? Let's say you're speaking to one person. I can't offend you. All right, fair enough. What if I'm speaking to 10 people? Do I get to offend 1 in 10? How about 1 in 100? How about 1 in 1,000? You're going to come out on stage and you're going to say something important about something vital, and you're not going to offend 1 person in 1,000? Important speech about important issues, especially contentious issues, is instantly offensive.
It is presumed that the creators of Family Man actually postponed season 2 of the show as a preemptive measure, already anticipating the public outrage that would transpire after the show releases. With retaliation in the form of litigation, public notices, and social media campaigns, there have been several cases that have been filed against shows for the content that they showcase. The process to seek for editing, or in some cases the absolute removal of shows in the form of Tandav and Bombay Begums respectively, made me think about a quote by Manoj Bajpayee in context to criticism and the foundation of a democracy.
In a society where you want films to be shown for everybody, you can be critical of it. You can be critical of the character. When you are writing it, you can write your point of view. You can't be of the opinion that you should not be making this film, because there are 50 films that you agree with, there are other segments don't agree with. Don't do this. It's a bad precedent.
The public attention that one would get with these notices actually led to several other notices popping up, sometimes even several months after the show has released. Mirzapur, several months after the release, had got a notice for tarnishing the image of Uttar Pradesh, among several other things. When I got to know about censorship on the OTT platforms that would be enforced by an official body, I wondered, what happened to debating about topics that one may find problematic? Taking an individual call to agree or disagree with the content you consume. Holding people accountable for something that may not match your moral compass. Someone argued with me, but kids are watching shows like Mirzapur and Sacred Games. Their young minds are being corrupted by such content. But I thought, isn't that the same argument with games? Games like Call of Duty and GTA have excessive violence and are meant for an older demographic. Monitoring as parents of what your children consume is important. Blaming the developer for creating something meant for people above 18 isn't. Irrespective, it's only in the last year or so I have become active on Twitter. And I have to say, it is a wild place. A place where there is no in-between. If you are not with the herd, you are the enemy. And the possibility of a civil discussion for and against a topic is as improbable as this video not getting hate. Shouldn't we as a country be able to live in a world where there is a Tashkent Files and Parzania, or a PM Narendra Modi movie and Firak that can coexist with one another? A person who isn't forced to watch the content gets offended by something, and that should keep everyone else away from wanting to watch it. Will there never be a day where we can see shows like House of Cards or The Crown in India? This made me think about films that took the risk of talking about contentious topics, while being extremely successful either financially or critically. Let's talk about those films, and let me know, do you think these films will be able to release in theatres today, without any backlash, without any trolling, or without any boycott campaign on Twitter? I also want to preface that this does not represent everyone, especially viewers of this channel, and that it is talking about hypotheticals or what-if situations. Not what was the actual fate of these films, simply what could have been. But we would be naive to deny that it does represent a portion of the population, especially on Twitter, that is ready to cancel or ban any fictional take if it doesn't suit their sensibilities. Haider. The 2014 Vishal Bharadwaj movie is considered to be a masterpiece for so many reasons. To adapt Hamlet in an Indian context is something that Bharadwaj by this time had mastered, but to set it in the political and social turmoil that exists in Kashmir created such a captivating human tale. The film boasted of phenomenal performances by Tabu and Shahid Kapoor, and it is still remembered for its impeccable writing and storytelling. But did you know that there was a boycott campaign even for Haider in 2014? A time where Twitter and social media wasn't as powerful, toxic, or reactionary. The campaign's intention was to boycott the film for its sympathy towards separatists and what was considered to be the defamation towards the Indian army. The story was criticized for not having a take on the plight of Kashmiri Pandits and for empathizing with anti-national elements. This specifically in context to the plot point of half-widows in Kashmir that the movie focused on. I still understand the sentiment or anger towards a film like Shikara that was advertised specifically to showcase the plight of Kashmiri Pandits and how its treatment was a surface-level montage and eventually turned out to be a love story. But the anger towards Haider, an adaptation of Hamlet in Kashmir, if released today, especially looking in context to the developments that have happened with the state of Jammu and Kashmir, would have maybe just transformed into something more toxic had it released in 2021. Nayak. This is a movie which is an interesting case study on whether or not creators were simply inspired by the Frost Nixon interviews and it was only coincidence that something similar eventually transpired, or like The Simpsons, they just manifested situations that would eventually happen in the political landscape of the country. Fortune telling in the most odd fashion, basically. Nayak, which released in 2001, is the official remake of the 1999 Tamil film which was directed by S. Shankar as well. The story of the film focuses on a reporter who asks tough questions to the Chief Minister of Maharashtra regarding the riots between college students and bus drivers, only for the elected politician to tremble and challenge the reporter to do his job for 24 hours. The transformative executive functioning of the reporter as makeshift CM and a little bit of mud wrestling formed the crux of the storyline. While there are no parallels or mentions of the storyline being related to any true events, over the years many people on social media have created parallels to the real-life events that happened after the release of this movie. The sequences of the instructions given to the police officer while the riots are happening and the infamous interview are often referenced to real-life situations that happened in the future. The question is, would the creators get away with had this movie been made after the events had taken place in real life? Wouldn't then the infamous interview scene be a recreation of the Karan Thapar interview rather than a foreshadowing? It's an interesting debate. Would Nayak be embroiled in controversy had it released today? Rang De Basanti. A film that I absolutely love, impacted me deeply as a preteen and can watch again and again is the Rakesh Omprakash directed film Rang De Basanti. This movie had all the ingredients: relatable grey characters, dialogues written like real people interact with one another, the beautiful music of A.R. Rahman, the convincing and memorable performances of the entire ensemble cast, and a commentary on something so relevant: the inability of the helpless state and the struggle of the youth to express themselves and work towards changing the system run by the corrupt and influential. While the measures taken by the fictional characters is drastic and something that I don't agree with, the film provides a realistic picture of the several circumstances the common man finds himself in and accepts to be their ultimate fate till death, to be never in control of where their life is headed. If the movie were to release today, I can already assume the hatred it would generate for presumably the politics it wants to communicate. There would be analogies made of the characters promoting the youth to become modern-day terrorists, how blasphemous it was to showcase politicians as corrupt, and the indecent nature and blatant disrespect of trying to create parallels between freedom fighters and college students. I don't know anyone who didn't love this film when it released, but knowing the activeness on social media in 2021, could it be released today without any backlash? That's the question. PK. Let this sink in for a second. PK is a movie that released in 2014 and focused on an alien that lands on Earth only to fail to return back to his homeland because of his misplaced remote that controls his spaceship. When he is on Earth, he tries to understand the human race and its eccentricities, specifically to do with belief, religion, and its place in modern society. The alien learns Bhojpuri by holding a prostitute's hand for 6 hours, attempts to steal money from a temple for God's broken promises, seeks for his remote from a man that he assumes to be God, questions Godmen and their ulterior motives while influencing millions in the name of religion. And all of this includes also a love story that binds the storyline together between a Muslim Pakistani man and a Hindu Indian girl. And this movie collected a worldwide gross of over 600 crores. Let that sink in. The film that is constantly under the scanner on Twitter and is referenced as mocking the Hindu religion is something that you may not agree with. You may find its messaging offensive, and you have every right to criticize it. But to ask for the ban of such films, or even worse, threaten people for the content of a fictional film is crossing the line. I assume PK would find it extremely tough to release without any backlash or problems in 2021. OMG, oh my god. A film that somehow did not come under the scanner of Twitter and absolute rage was the 2012 film Oh My God, directed by Umesh Shukla. Based on the Gujarati play Kanji vs. Kanji, the film focused on an atheist who laughs at religious customs and files a case against God on not receiving any compensation through insurance money when his shop gets destructed due to an earthquake, or an act of God. I would assume that the outrage for a film like OMG, oh my god was minimal, as it focuses on several representatives of God, rather than focusing on one religion or one godman, which was the case with PK. Also, I believe maybe having Akshay Kumar play Lord Krishna that guides Paresh Rawal's character softens many of the blows taken in the film of the several practices or customs followed in various religions. It is an effective comedy, no doubt, but it's interesting that most of the quote sequences, the godmen are the butt of the jokes, but there was little outcry regarding the several things that the movie questioned around faith. Let me know what you think about Twitter and this current landscape of wanting to either boycott or ban films that doesn't suit one's narrative. Do you think most of these campaigns stay in the bubble of Twitter, or do you think, with the recent developments, they are having considerable impact as well? Do you agree with it meddling with artistic expression or not? Let me know in the comments below. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.